finale, we are delving into a galaxy far, far away. And we're going to be talking about Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace from 1999, released May 19th, 1999, so it was celebrating an anniversary this week. Written and directed by George Lucas, starring Liam Neeson, Ewan McGregor, Natalie Portman, Jake Lloyd. The film had 3 Oscar nominations for Best Sound Effects, and Best Visual Effects. But it was the first Star Wars film not to win an Oscar. And, of course, most of the previous ones were technical awards. But nonetheless, it was the highest-grossing film of the prequel trilogy. Those are the ones that came after the original trilogy. And it was by far the highest-grossing film of 1999. In fact, it grossed over $1 million domestically every day for 61 consecutive days during its release. Roger Ebert actually called it the most eagerly awaited new movie of the decade. Yeah. I don't think that's an overstatement at all. In fact, get this statistic. Employment consulting firm Challenger Gray and Christmas estimated that 2.2 million full-time employees missed work to attend the film, resulting in a U.S. Loss of productivity of $293 million in the U.S. So that loss of productivity in the U.S. was going to the box office of Phantom Menace. Now, Star Wars fans know that the Phantom Menace kind of has a little bit of controversy on several fronts. We'll get to some of the alleged racism and stuff in a minute. But, as much as it was a success, and it was so eagerly anticipated, many fans kind of reflected afterwards thinking, well, this is kind of a disappointment. There was a lot of things they didn't really like about the way the story happened, how some changes that Lucas made, some weird things that they didn't expect in a Star Wars movie. But I want to say, I think part of that is the burden of the expectation. Like I said, it was such an anticipated film. I was lucky enough to be at the premiere screening at the Chinese Theater in Hollywood that opening night, which was, the big one that was covered by all the entertainment networks and stuff. And I can tell you, by far, that was the single most electric movie experience I've ever had. The energy in that room was crazy. Everyone was in costume and had lightsabers, and there was screaming, and, the logo comes up, and the place erupts. And just the waiting in line all day, and it was incredible. So the anticipation was very real, and I was lucky enough to be right there in the thick of it, and it's easily the most exciting experience I've ever had in a theater. Now, of course, upon reflection, you think, I don't know if I like that or not, but the movie was very, very successful.
Well, it's certainly, and I think you hit the nail right on the head in so many aspects in that opening delivery there, Joe. We were all waiting for this. I know I couldn't wait for it. I think there was a little confusion about Episode 1. We're going back in time before the other 3. And then, of course, there was the Jar Jar Binks Episode 2 that kind of threw a lot of people off with that character as well. But I want you to get in, because this is kind of news to me about the racism side of this. I didn't know much about this.
Yeah, okay, I'll get to that in just a second. Just real quick follow-up on, just to kind of emphasize the anticipation that we've been talking about. During the first week of the trailer's release, now this is just the trailer to the film, many theaters reported up to 75% of their audience paying full price for a movie than walking out after the Episode 1 trailer was shown. So it was, that was the kind of energy that was going on. And, let's go to the controversies. You mentioned Jar Jar Binks, and this quickly drew the ire of longtime Star Wars fans. They reacted very negatively to the character's clumsiness and voice, and here's where the racism comes in. It was sort of some people claim that it was meant to represent sort of a subservient Afro-American stereotype, like a Stephen Fetchit of the old days, and Jar Jar went on to become one of the most hated characters in movie history, and the actor Ahmad Best had a lot of hate, a lot of both just disliking the character, and again this sort of alleged African American stereotype and racism. Also, George Lucas was accused of stereotyping Jewish people with Watto, the junk dealer that was the owner of Anakin, who was a slave. due to his greedy personality, gravelly voice, his hooked nose, unkempt beard, all of which sort of evokes anti-Semitic caricatures like the Happy Merchant and stuff. So it wasn't just Jar Jar; it was Watto, and that's a real thing. I teach a Spielberg Lucas class, and we look at articles, scholarly articles where people are discussing these issues.
The one thing that I really like too, and going back and watching this after the rest of the movies unfolded, is watching and paying close attention to Palpatine in this movie. And once you watch it and then watch the other ones, to go back and watch this again, it's very interesting how they play with that character.
Yeah, in fact, Ian McDiarmid, I always mispronounce his name, who plays Palpatine, he and Anthony Daniels, who was C-3PO, and Kenny Baker, who was R2-D2, and Frank Oz, who was Yoda, they were the only characters to reprise their roles from the original trilogy. And as you said, the Emperor Palpatine definitely has a story arc here. Speaking of casting, Qui-Gon Jinn, of course, went to Liam Neeson. He accepted the role without even reading the script, which is also indicative of the anticipation. Right? Star Wars movie, yeah, I want to be part of that. But other people that were considered for that role, Morgan Freeman, Tom Hanks, Denzel Washington, Kurt Russell, Gary Busey, I like that one, and some of the people that were considered to play Obi-Wan was Harry Connick Jr., which I think is kind of an interesting take.
I thought the casting of Ewan McGregor was absolutely perfect.
Yeah, he was great. He studied Alec Guinness's films to get the mannerisms down. Kind of funny little story is during the filming, McGregor would make lightsaber noise with his mouth as he dueled. That we all kind of did as kids. Lucas explained many times that the sound effects are going to be added in special effects later, and Ewan kind of just said, "Hey, I kept getting carried away. Sue me." Speaking of some production stories and casting, Liam Neeson is a very tall individual, as some people might know. But the sets, a lot of them were digital and stuff. The sets were built only as high as the tops of the actor's head, and then computer graphics would fill in the rest. But because Liam Neeson was so tall, he cost the set crew an extra $150,000 in construction because they had to construct sets, an extra couple of feet to accommodate his height. Some more little Easter eggs, I guess, as we would call them. And I think some people already know this, but for those who don't, it's kind of fun. During the Galactic Senate scene where Queen Amidala is asking for a vote of no confidence, and, there's all these alien species in the Senate shouting on their feet and stuff. On the lower left corner, you can see that one of the little contingents of representatives from the galaxy are the E.T. species from E.T. the Extraterrestrial. And George Lucas included them, as a tribute to his longtime friend Spielberg. And so E.T. exists in the same Star Wars universe, according to that. Another fun sort of little Easter egg, blink and you'll miss it kind of thing, is the full-size EVA pod from 2001: A Space Odyssey, where Dave is out in space and he's like, open the pod bay doors, Hal. That can be seen sitting in Watto's junkyard. So if you go back and watch these things, look for E.T. in the Senate scene and the EV pod from 2001 in Watto's junkyard.